not just about the platforms themselves.
To the preservation of the national unity.
Don't forget, the Reporter is a news and current affairs program that goes beyond the headlines, bringing reporters from the field to give first-hand information and activities of accounts that were in-depth in the field, in-depth analysis of unfolding issues, correspondence perspectives, ensuring balanced, credible, and very effective story that we tell you around the world. I am Anitia Patrick. Well, let's take a cue from the Transparency Initiative. The Chairman, Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, Musa Aliyu, has charged anti-graft agencies, civil society organizations, and media to look at issues to ensure transparency in governance at all levels and to move the nation forward. Our correspondent, Ramsey Agbo, tells us more as the chairman made the call at the Nigerian Local Government Integrity Index presentation by the Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity in Abuja.
Transparency and accountability at the grassroots took center stage in Abuja as the chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, Musa Aliyu, stressed the need for transparency at the 774 local governments in Nigeria so as to ensure constitutional democracy to the people.
We will look at our mandates and see how we will come in and support local government to deliver the services to our people. Because we know that Section 7 of the Constitution has clearly provided that local government councils should be governed by democratically elected officials. And there will be no democracy if there is no transparency and accountability.
The executive director of the Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity, Umar Yakubu, highlighted concern raised since the Supreme Court ruling of July 2024 on whether local governments truly receive their allocations directly and how the funds are being utilized.
Yeah, basically since the Supreme Court judgment of 2024 in July, nobody really knows what to do with the local governments. And there are too many speculations about whether they are receiving their finances directly or they are not. And as you may recall, we had a program earlier in the year together with Agora Policy on whether these things have been happening. And from the evidence we have, we don't think they have been receiving their funds directly for several reasons. But that aside, we believe the local government, the data shows that the governance structures there are very weak, and there needs to be a lot of enhancement of trainings and capacity building so that they can deliver the dividends of democracy and enhance good governance.
Also speaking, the special advisor to the chairman of the Fiscal Responsibility Commission, Chris Owadoka, emphasized the importance of fiscal discipline and accountability at the local government level.
Fiscal transparency is critical for progress in the local governments. As local governments are beginning to enjoy financial and fiscal autonomy, it is necessary that their activities be visible. Their fiscal, financial activities be visible to all.
Speakers agreed that local government, being the closest tier of government to the people, must demonstrate transparency and accountability in order to deliver good governance and dividends of democracy to Nigerians at the grassroots. Ramsey Enoch Agbo reporting for Global TV News.
Well, that's it from Ramsey. Well, let's tell you that we have Ramsey Agbo Enoch here in the studio to give us first-hand information on how that event went there. Well, Ramsey, it's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much. So good to be here.
Well, it was a lot happening there from the conversation we saw playing out for there. But let's quickly get a clue from you, basically. How can collaboration between the anti-graft agencies, civil society organizations, and the media strengthen transparency and accountability in governance, looking at the nature of things happening in the country right now?
Well, if you look at what the event is all about, it's all about what happens at the grassroots. You know, after the Supreme Court ruling of the local government autonomy in July 2024, a lot of people were expecting monies to go straight to the local government as it has been ruled by the Supreme Court.
Okay.
And a lot of people were just speculating, has the money been going there? Has it not been going there? Because there was nothing like transparency, open up the local government chairman opening up. You remember there was a rush when there was a ruling that except every local government have a democratically elected chairman, any caretaker chairman will not get that, and they quickly conducted election and all of that. But the monies going down to the local government, 774 local governments, how is it being spent? You know, that is where the question is. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people, like if you listen to what Dr. Umar was talking about the research, what they use for the research, how they went about the research and all of that. And we discovered that in some states, you know, some local governments are at a very high risk. Some are taking advantage of some situations not to perform. So I think Dr. Umar and his team did a very good job. And of course, the media, all right, the anti-graft agencies, and of course, civil society organizations are the ones that can checkmate the activities of this local government chairman. And it's part of what the chairman of ICPC pointed out. And of course, Dr. Umar himself.
Well, if we've spoken about the issue of the media, the civil society driving this focus and getting the narrative to change for us to get see transparency at the local government. Let's look at what role should local government now play in terms of integrity. Let's look what role should local government integrity indices play in improving service delivery, because right now you're going beyond just that. So you have to look at service delivery, how this can come down to the people in terms of Nigerians' interests.
I think what is there is any local government chairman that is smart enough, all right, would now use to this research carried out by Dr. Umar and his team to balance himself, sit up, because now they've known that there is some beaming of torchlight. Eyes are on them at the moment. And of course, this is even to help them, deliver the dividends of democracy the more. That's what Dr. Umar and his team have done so far. So what is there is this index, this statistic, this research is to help them reposition the area, the states that are lagging behind. They now need to sit up, and any state governor that is wise, because there is this speculation that the state governors, some state governors are taking advantage of the local government chairman, you know, I don't want to use certain words now, but then I think it's time for everybody, all hands to be on deck, so that they can take advantage of this index.
Okay, Ramsey, why I'm asking all of this is because the focus is public trust. The public needs to trust the local government, needs to trust the what is brought to them in the forefront. That's why I asked, what role are they going to play? What indices are they going to bring? But it's good that you've actually cleared us on all of those conversations, and we hope that this comes to play fully, and the people get to win, or they get to win people's trust in the long run because of all of this. Thank you so much, Ramsey. It's always a pleasure having you on The Reporter.
Thank you, Niti, for having me on The Reporter this evening.
All right, let's take a look from other activities and let Ramsey go to some infrastructural stories. The Federal Capital Territory Minister Nyesom Wike has says as part of the administration's mission to ensure quality education and infrastructure development, the FCTA will commence the rehabilitation of 40 schools across the territory. Well, the minister stated this in the continuation of flag-off of access roads in Abuja. Our correspondent Kabir Hassan has the details.
During the flag-off, which was attended by dignitaries, traditional rulers, and eminent personalities, the minister says the rehabilitation will cut across both the city center and satellite towns, focusing on classrooms, libraries, and laboratories to provide children with a conducive learning environment. He noted that the initiative, alongside other infrastructure projects, is part of the government's broader vision to restore the Abuja Master Plan and uplift communities.
We are going to start again to total rehabilitation of not less than 40 schools after this road infrastructure.
He further emphasizes that the ongoing projects in roads and other sectors will continue simultaneously to drive development in the territory. He says all project flag off under the administration will be completed by the 3rd anniversary of the president.
And just like the emerging director of the Elevanti has assured, I'll be on their neck day and night. We have so many projects to showcase in the 3rd year anniversary of Mr. President. And I believe that this is one of them. By the directive of Mr. President, every sector must be touched.
The assurance of timely completion, according to the residents, signals renewed hope for improved education, better infrastructure, and stronger community development in the Federal Capital Territory. Kabir Hassan, reporting for Global TV News.
Well, there you have it. It's been a whole lot of flag off and also construction of road network for the FCT. But this time around, the minister is saying it's time to look at the education sector and see how they can bring in schools to enhance good student education and give out the best when it comes to education. And we'll have our correspondent Kabir Hassan join in this conversation. Kabir, if you're there, how are you doing? Kabir, can you speak up, please?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening.
Okay, Kabir, well, you were there at this recent development and looking at what the minister is saying and what he wants to bring to bear for the people of the FCT. Let's have a quick run. How will the planned rehabilitation of 40 schools in the FCT improve education standards and also infrastructure for students in the FCT?
All right, so the Federal Capital Territory Administration, the FCT, are on a mission of in infrastructure development across the FCT.
Mm-hmm.
So the rehabilitation of schools is part of the mission the FCT administration has. Not only the schools, but also other infrastructures such as the healthcare. As now there's an ongoing road project that is going on in the FCT.
Well, okay, go ahead.
The minister says the infrastructure development is to bring investment to Abuja, the city capital of Nigeria.
You know, but this time around, the idea is pushed towards schools. So I'm asking basically, how will this help with education? Because a lot of people have been complaining that the focus has so far been on roads. Now he has moved to school. How will this improve education standard and infrastructure for students? Because we have the public schools who've been going through hell trying to find a balance.
Yes, during the program, he said the schools, he has sent his supervisors to check the satellite towns of the FCT for this to see how the schools are going. They came back with the reports which will make him start the rehabilitation of 40 schools to improve the health sector by building new schools to the students and providing quality teachers with good qualification and ensuring that they have a conducive environment for them for learning.
All right, thank you so much, Kabir, for bringing us up to speed on that. Let's move our focus now and look at the foreign scene and see what's happening on the foreign scene. The World Health Organization says nearly 42,000 people, a quarter of them children, have suffered what it's called life-changing injuries, including amputations, as well as head and spinal cord injuries in Israel's war in Gaza. Our foreign affairs correspondent tells us more, but it also says the Richard Peppercorn, World Health Organization's representative in Palestinian territories, told a press conference that long life rehabilitation will be required in order to find solutions to all of this. Our foreign affairs correspondent Uyi Agumofegbe completes the story.
Since the war began with Hamas's deadly attack inside Israel on October 7, 2023, Israel's retaliatory offensive has killed more than 66,000 Palestinians, and that is according to health ministry figures in Hamas-run Gaza that the United Nations considers reliable. The health ministry also noted that nearly 170,000 more have been injured.
You talk about 42,000 of them having life-changing injuries. Of them, 1/4, so that is 1/4 actually over the overall injured people in Gaza, and 1/4 of that are actually children. So then you talk about over 10,000 children with life-changing injuries.
The WHO representative also highlighted concerns around mental health challenges associated with the conflict that has ravaged Gaza in the past 2 years.
The mental health can impact, and the mental health impact overall. And that's maybe something to raise according to some of the estimations that probably currently, and that's why over 1 million people are at least distressed by mental health in Gaza.
Pete Skelton, the report's main author, told journalists that children appear to be disproportionately vulnerable to amputations. Uyi Agbomofuegbe, reporting for Global TV News.
Is Uyi, who's going to tell us more on what's happening in Gaza. It's always a pleasure having Uyi in the studio, so we have him right here with me. Uyi, it's good to have you.
Well, the pleasure is all mine as always.
So let's look at all of the conversation happening around Gaza. Gaza has had a lot going on for them, and just because of the war. Well, how has the ongoing war in Gaza impacted civilians? Because with nearly 42,000 people, including thousands of children suffering life-changing injuries such as amputations and spinal cord damage, is quite a tough one for the civilians. So let's hear from you following this whole drama, drama because it's actually dramatic for the people.
Right, quite an interesting story to tell, but let's run through it real quick. First of all, even if nothing sticks out for you when you see the numbers around children, I mean, that's quite heartbreaking,
it's
right?
Heartbreaking.
But then again, this is something that has spanned almost 2 years. By 7th of this October, it would have been 2 years exactly. And if we backtrack a little, you realize that it was that's a very nasty attack on Israelis on the 7th of October in 2023 that led to where we are today. However, we also need to put on record that Israel's retaliatory moves have been very devastating. So far, the numbers are saying 66,000 people at the very least have died. And you look at those who have been injured, at least 170,000. All right, that's quite huge. And then when you look at the figures coming out from the health ministry in Gaza, which of course we understand is run by Hamas, and the UN says they believe in those numbers, in those statistics coming out from the health ministry in Gaza.
Okay.
It shows to you that as it stands today, the decimation just continues. And the question ultimately is what happens or what becomes of Gaza in the final analysis. Add to that, another factor that makes the whole situation even worse than you can imagine is the fact that bringing aid into Gaza has become more like rocket science, all right? We've seen countries, even beyond the region, intervene to say the Israeli authorities should allow aid into Gaza, at least for the civilian population, and all of that. And then the last couple of months, we're seeing calls to say sanction Israel, sanction Prime Minister Netanyahu, and of course, we've seen a handful of countries, or maybe a little over a handful, come out to say, look, we are recognizing the Palestinian state at the UNGA, which you see many countries have done, France, Australia, and quite a number of them, including Canada. But we also need to recognize the fact that trauma has been a concern, even though that's not the conversation we have most times. And like you saw the UN representative talk about a while ago, this is a traumatizing situation. I mean, that's a no-brainer. So in all, it's a hydra-headed monster, the problem on the ground in Gaza.
Well, I'm looking at the rehabilitation you mentioned because I'm looking at the long-term need for that rehabilitation because this number is quite alarming. 170 injured, killed rather in the process because we have the figure with what's the World Health Organization looking at right now because rehabilitation is the way to go because they've suffered quite a number of losses. It's not just one, it's running in hundreds.
Right. It's a bit bleak, but then we have to stay as hopeful as possible in light of the reality that not just the people in Gaza are dealing with, the entire world. Because, I mean, rapper Tupac Amaru Shakur once said that until there is peace in the Middle East, the world is not likely going to know peace. And I think that's more of a reality in front of us today. Now, back to your question. It's complicated because also recall that the U.S. government has now cut back on spending regarding United States Agency for International Development, the USAID thing. And the UN has been very vehement about calls for support from across the world because it says that with these 8 courts, it's going to be far more difficult, all right, for the United Nations and all its agencies to continue to reach out and provide humanitarian support. And you can only imagine, I mean, it's better imagined than experienced, what the implications will be for people on the ground in Gaza, all right? So in the case of support, short-term, medium-term, long-term, it's going to be a long walk to freedom because at the end of the day, you need humongous resources to make that happen. And it's a process thing. It's not going to happen at the snap of fingers. So where will those resources come from? The world is a bit distracted right now. Actually. There's war in Ukraine, I mean, between Russia and Ukraine. That's one conversation that is top priority for Europe. So does Europe think about Israel much these days as they did maybe a few years ago? How much of U.S. interests will help resettle Gaza? Don't also forget that just recently, President Trump has already advanced a plan for Gaza, which Hamas says is not buying. So the question is, at what point are we going to find closure? Well, we keep our eyes and ears to the ground. Well, that's the reason why we have you to keep tabs and also give us all the updates as we need, because there's need for solution and rehabilitation. If we need, the change needs to come to play because the injuries, such kind of in amputation, that's a lifetime thing. And it's something that has to do with psychology, you know, over time. So we just hope these guys will find time to heal and get back or find succor somehow. That's right. To live their life once again. Thank you so much, Uyi. Always a pleasure having you on The Reporter. Well, let's let Uyi go and move away from Gaza and all the conversation around there and take you to what's happening with the British police authorities have identified a suspect in connection with the recent attack on a Manchester synagogue. Police have also made 3 arrests as investigations continue into the incident. All our Global Television's international correspondent Edikan Michael now reports.
The attack has shocked the cities, prompting swift action from law enforcement to ensure public safety. Authorities are currently examining all potential motives and evidence related to the incident. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has responded to the event, emphasizing that Britain must stand united against the rising wave of religious violence. In his broadcast, the Prime Minister reaffirmed the government's commitment to combating hate crimes and protecting minority communities across the country. Police confirmed that the terrorists killed 2 men outside a synagogue on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, who is believed to be a British citizen of Syrian descent. Chief Constable Sir Stephen Watson said there were a lot of people inside the synagogue when the attackers struck, but for the bravery of the security staffs and the worshippers inside, as well as the fast response of the police, the attacker was prevented from gaining access.
Yom Kippur is the earliest day of the Jewish year. It is a solemn day of observance and atonement and marks the peak of the high holidays. No work is permitted for some. The day is spent at a synagogue. And this occasion falls on the 10th day of an Hebrew month between the late September and early October. It is a sad situation here in Manchester. Edikan Michael reporting for Global TV News.
Well, thank you so much, Edikan, for bringing us up to speed with that happening there in the British police issue and all that, for giving us all the updates. Well, it's been an amazing time here on The Reporter. Like we always bring you stories happening across the globe, from Nigeria to Asia to Africa, wherever, and tell you everything happening around the world. That's why it's called The Reporter. We told you in-depth analysis of issues from our reporter's point of view to your screen. It's been an amazing time, and this is where we draw the curtains on the program. We say a very big thank you for always being a part of the program, The Reporter. Until the next time when we come your way, don't forget that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and on Star Times channel 276. To follow us across all our social media platforms, kindly follow us on the screen with what's displayed on the screen using @Global TV NG. Until next time, I am Anieti Patrick. Bye for now.
water is life, water is an essential service, and we must have to carry out the residents.
Local communities are not only